This is the story of a night that no one should ever have to experience. It was supposed to be a simple road trip, you know. A long drive, cruising down an empty highway, with the headlights cutting through the dark like a knife. But it turned into something else. It started around midnight. Mark, a guy I knew from work, had been driving for hours. The roads were empty, the kind of empty where you start to feel like you're the only person left in the world. He hadn't planned to stop, but the gas light came on, and he figured he'd pull over at the next pit stop. Now that's where things went wrong. He pulled off the highway, expecting a regular old stop to refuel and stretch his legs. But this place, it was different. There was something about it. A weird vibe in the air. The lights were dim, the kind of yellowish glow that feels off. There was one old, beat-up gas pump barely working. The little store attached to it was practically falling apart. No other cars around, just this lonely, broken place in the middle of nowhere. Mark stepped out of his car and looked around. No sounds. Nothing. Just the wind and the emptiness. He shrugged, though. Maybe just an old pit stop, he thought. He went into the store to pay, and that's when it hit him. Something was wrong. The old man behind the counter looked strange. His eyes were too wide, like he hadn't blinked in ages, and the silence, it was so heavy, like it was pressing down on him. Mark just wanted to fill up and get out. He paid, grabbed his receipt, and headed back to his car. But as he reached for the door, he froze. There was something moving in the dark, near the trees. It was quick, too quick. But then it was gone. Mark, being the kind of guy who brushes off things like this, shook it off and got back in his car. He started the engine, ready to leave that creepy stop behind. But the engine sputtered. Then, it died. Mark tried starting it again, and again. Nothing. He was stuck. Right there. He got out of the car and popped the hood. No lights. The night was darker now. The wind picked up, and he could feel the chill creeping in. The pit stop, well, it looked even worse now. The building seemed to lean a little to the side, like it was shifting. Then he heard it. A slow, dragging sound, coming from behind him. It was getting closer. Mark turned, but there was nothing there, just the darkness. But when he turned back to his car, it wasn't just the engine that was wrong. His tires were flat, all of them. Panic started to rise in his chest. He was alone. There was no one around to help him. That's when he saw it. A shadow in the distance, moving toward him. Not quick like before. It was slow. Steady. Like it was just watching him. He jumped back into his car, locked the doors, and sat there, gripping the wheel. His heart was racing. The car's engine still refused to start. The shadow was getting closer, and Mark swore it was growing taller. Suddenly, a voice, a whisper, barely audible but clear enough. "Get out of the car." Mark froze. He didn't move. The voice was so close now, right next to the window. He slowly turned his head and saw nothing, but the shadow was there. It was right outside his window. Mark had never been a man to believe in ghost stories, but this felt real. The shadow was tall, thin, and its outline seemed wrong. It was like the darkness itself had taken form, like it was made of shadows, wrapped in the night. It had no face, no eyes, just a shape, growing, shifting, and whispering that same phrase. "Get out of the car." Mark's hands were shaking. He didn't know what to do. He reached for his phone to call for help, but there was no signal. Nothing but the eerie silence. Then something strange happened. The car lights flickered on, and in that brief flash, Mark saw something he couldn't unsee. In the reflection of his rearview mirror, there was a face, but it wasn't his. It was a pale, twisted version of his own, smiling back at him. He turned around quickly, but the face was gone. His heart pounded. This was more than just a bad pit stop. Something terrible was happening, and it had been waiting for him. The door handle rattled. Mark knew he couldn't just sit there anymore. The shadow was getting closer, and he could hear the scraping of its limbs against the car's metal. He could almost feel its breath, cold and dry, like death itself was hovering over him. He made a decision. He had to get out. But how? The doors were locked. Suddenly, the car shook. A hard jolt. Like something had slammed into it. Then, a loud bang on the roof. He wasn't alone. Not anymore. With shaking hands, Mark grabbed the door handle and yanked. It opened. He stepped out, ready to run. But the moment his foot hit the ground, he felt something cold grab his ankle. The shadow was on him. Mark kicked and struggled, but the thing's grip was unyielding. It pulled him backward, its form twisting as it dragged him closer to the pit stop. That's when Mark saw it, a figure standing by the door of the store. A woman. Her face was covered in darkness, but her eyes, they were glowing, bright as fire. She whispered, "You shouldn't have stopped." And that's when Mark knew. He wasn't the first. Mark fought with everything he had, but the shadow was stronger. It dragged him, inch by inch, into the store. He could see the old man from before, but now, he was standing with the woman, both of them watching. Then, everything went dark. Mark woke up, but not where he thought. He was back in his car. The engine was running. The gas was full. His tires, perfect. He didn't understand. It was like nothing had happened. But when he looked at the rearview mirror, the face was there again, not his face. And the whisper? It was the last thing he heard before everything went black again. "You're never leaving." Mark never made it out of that pit stop. No one ever does.